Okay, let's talk about the cheaters. So, welcome to the YAP session today. Well, this week there's been a lot of conversation. Hopefully, mic's not too loud about cheaters in Pokemon Go, and specifically the level 80 cheaters in the game. So, if you haven't heard, some people have already hit level 80 in Pokemon Go, but how is this even possible? If you've seen any of my other videos or have read the tasks, you would think that there's a lot of time gates and a lot of things that are impossible to get by in this short amount of time. If you don't know, the level 80 update dropped October 15th, 16th in some time zones. I think Australia and like Asia kind of got the short end of the stick there. And it's only been 13 days, almost 2 weeks since it's dropped, and people are already level 80. So this has been a topic that's been debated online where trainers are now starting to flex and be like, hey, I'm level 80. And not even just level 80. Some people are like, oh, I'm level 77, 78, 79, etc. And these high levels. And it's been pretty much all the rave that's been talking about on Twitter. Now, I do have to be careful because when I say like everybody's talking about this, it's not completely right. I think we have to, and specifically me, I have to be more aware of knowing that social media is a vacuum and what you interact with online is what will get fed back to you. YouTube is an algorithm. When like your YouTube algorithm right now might just be a lot of Pokemon Go content because you're watching Pokemon Go, or maybe I just randomly popped up on your feed and your algorithm is all about like foraging mushrooms. I don't know what you're into, but anyway, it is a vacuum. So there's probably a lot of people here who don't know what I'm talking about. What is this level 80 cheaters? Who are these people? And what's the situation? So let me break it down for you guys, and then I'm going to explain my opinion on it and how to approach this situation. Let's get into it. If you don't know what this is, the Pokédoxy YAP session, you can actually listen to this video on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting platform where we just talk about Pokemon Go every single Friday at 12 p.m. So let's get into it. Okay, what is going down? So trainers are flexing on Twitter, already hitting level 80 or hitting high levels in Pokemon Go. I hope my mic is not too loud. But I did some math, and it's theoretically impossible. I think most of us know that it's impossible. So let me break it down. Level 80 dropped on October 15th, 2025. Technically 16th in some time zones. And no one could have been level 72 in the game before October 20th because on October 15th, the first page of tasks, because you have to complete certain tasks to get to the next level from level 70 to 80, the first page was get 15 platinum medals. You could have done that before. Power up a legendary or mythical Pokemon 20 times. That takes one button click, technically, if you have the candies. Make 999 nice throws, which is a lot of throws, but you can do that in like 2-3 hours if you're a hardcore player. I did it in like 4 hours, and I wasn't even playing that hard. So you could do it in like under a day. You could be at the next level, and the last task, catch 100 Pokemon in a single day, which you would technically do by hitting 999. So you could be level 71, in Pokemon Go by the first day of the release. And then level 71 is where the issue happens because to hit level 72, you had to complete a route 7 days in a row, meaning there's instantly a 7-day time gate. So no one could have been level 72 before October 20th. Now let me explain why it's the 20th, because October 20th is technically 5 days after the release, but trainers who were smart found a good strategy where if technically you got the first route done on the day of release, aka October 15th, and then you fly on a plane, not the other type of flying, but you fly on a plane to the future by flying across, or technically you could fly to Europe if you're in the States, but you could also fly from the States to, I believe, over the, the time zone line, over the Pacific where the time jumps a day. If you fly there, you would technically fly into the next day. So you could get that task done because you're time traveling forward. Now, this would obviously cost a lot of money. And unless you were already planning to go to Japan during that week or go to New Zealand or Australia or even anywhere in Asia or even in Europe, if you're in the States, you can still fly to Europe and technically you're going forward into the future. You could technically get that task done earlier because you kind of like skip that day. So anyway, October 20th, that was the day. Then level 73, which is the next level. Let's say you were able to do that task. You were able to get 1 million Stardust. Level 73, you have to purify 100 shadow Pokemon, power up 3 Pokemon to their max CP, and win 30 raids. That can all be done in a day, even less. Like, win 30 raids. If you're walking, grinding raids with a group, like, I'm trying to say, like, max, the fastest you could do this. We're talking hardcore player here. You could do this in like 3-4 hours pretty easily. That's really not too hard. But then level 74 is where this issue started to come up, because on level 74, you needed to earn 30 platinum medals. Well, you still need to. I don't know why I'm saying it past tense. Level max move 20 times. You can do that. You just need to spend money on that. Complete 250 field research tasks, which is hard, but you can do that in a day if you really, really grind, or 2 days or whatever. And then explore 200 kilometers. And this is where the issue came in. Now, to explore 200 kilometers in a legitimate, this is the way that people keep saying it, but like a legitimate way in the game is really hard to tell, because I think there is a way to tell it, but how do I want to explain this? But let me just explain what I think is the most legitimate way to do this. Now, obviously, if you're cheating by using a joystick or whatever, this is not legitimate at all. You're technically cheating in Pokemon Go. But I saw a video from Billy where if you connect Google Fit to your Android phone and use the same Pokemon Go, you use the same Gmail that you connect to your Pokemon Go account, you can technically bike on Google Fit at 20 kilometers an hour with Pokemon Go closed, and it will actually give you those bike rides into your 200 kilometers. So you're still working out, you're still moving, you're still out there putting in the work, putting in the time and the effort to do it, but you're on a bike, so you're going 20 kilometers an hour. Now, if the game is opened, it's actually only 15 kilometers an hour that will link back to your 200 kilometers you have to walk for that level. It's very weird how it works, but if the game's actually closed and you're using Adventure Sync, you can actually, it's actually the more optimal way to get your kilometers in Pokemon Go. But point is, if you are perfect and you're going 20 kilometers an hour, because any more than that, you can you run 20 kilometers an hour? I don't know if anyone's running 20 kilometers an hour. No, that's insane. If you're biking 20 kilometers an hour on a scooter, whatever, you could technically do 200 kilometers in 10 hours if you go nonstop 10-hour bike ride for 200 kilometers at 20 kilometers an hour. Now, I did a half Ironman, and I did 90 kilometers. And biking 90 kilometers, I did it on an aero bike. I did it in like 3 hours, okay? But I was going way too fast. I was going like 30 kilometers, 35 kilometers an hour on that bike. Biking for 10 hours is insane, okay? There's not a lot of people who I think physically could bike for 20 kilometers an hour. By the way, this is perfect 20 kilometers an hour. Like, we're not leaving any room for a stoplight, for a person coming in front of you and you have to slow them down. This is literally you biking around a track that you rented out for 10 hours, just doing loops of that track. That sounds horrible. That sounds not fun at all. The point is, you could technically do this in 10 hours. However, is this possible? It's hard to say. And this is where the whole thing comes up, is like, a lot of people are like, are these people cheating or are they not? We'll get into it in a little bit. But technically, I just want to say that task is technically possible to do in 10 hours on a bike with Google Fit connected. But I would say probably for a person who's walking 1 to 2 days, 3 days, like if you're doing 70 kilometers a day walking, that's already insane. But like, let's just throw 2 days as a time gate for that. Okay, so no one's hitting level 74 before October 22nd. Technically, you could do it before, but that's if you're like literally a god. Then level 75, you need to send 500 gifts. You can only send 100 gifts a day. If you had held gifts from the day before, this task will still take you about 5 days to do, because that is a time gate. You can only send 100 a day. I don't know why that's a thing, but it is. Level 76, you then have to walk 300 kilometers. Again, using the same biking method I talked about before. You could technically do this in 15 hours. I'm guessing that no one is biking for 15 hours straight around a track at 20 kilometers an hour on a bike. If you want to do it legitly, I guess we could say. And when I say legitly, it's hard to say what legitly is, but I think it's like, it means that you're actually out there and you're putting in the work. You're not just, your game's not just working for itself on auto mode with a joystick inside. Anyway, point is, you also have to do 100 Team Go Rocket grunts, which is really, really hard to do 100 grunts in a day. So I would say this task would take 1 to 2 days. So October 29th, no one's level 76 until October 29th. Level 77, you need to win 100 max battles. That's like the hardest task for level 77. Other than that, everything is like pretty easy to do. So you could technically do that in a day. I've done 100 max battles in like 3-4 hours. If you're doing like the really, really low max battles, or like the tier 1 max battles. And then October 29th, you need to do 400 kilometers. Yes, you need to walk 400 kilometers. So that's 20 hours of biking around a bike loop. Now, again, no one's doing this, okay? Well, then maybe there's some people who are literally getting a bike track and biking around at 20 kilometers an hour. But like, when are you eating? When are you sleeping? All this stuff, you know what I mean? So this task will most likely take 1 to 2 to 3 days. Probably more for the person who's walking, but I'm saying like the hardcore player who still wants to do it via bike and maybe play for like 8 hours a day, that's still like 3 hours of biking at 20 kilometers an hour with Google Fit. And by the way, this is not even with Pokemon Go open. Anyway, point is, finally, level 79, you have to win 80 battles in the Go Battle League. You can only battle 25 times a day in the Go Battle League. So this task would take anybody at least 4 days to complete if they're goated at PvP and they win almost every battle. So point is, no one should be level 80 before November 5th in Pokemon Go. And no one should really be these higher levels as well until November or later in October. You know what I mean? So the point is, there's clearly cheaters in the game. There is clearly people who are cheating, who are they say cheesing their kilometers and faking their kilometers by, I don't know the methods. I don't know how to cheat. Don't ask me how to cheat. I don't think you should cheat in Pokemon Go. I've never condoned cheating in the game. But there's some people who are apparently doing. And what this has led to is a huge conversation online with people being frustrated about people coming out and flexing that they cheat. You know, somebody posts, hey, I'm already level 80. And this guy's like, oh, you're a cheater. And there's just some like angry dialogue going back and forth, which is just like normal Twitter, I guess, at the end of the day. Not a place I really want to be, not an enjoyable place. But I do think I have an opinion on this. So first of all, people are frustrated about people cheating in Pokemon Go. And I first want to say that this is a very, very valid feeling, you know, and I think there's a couple reasons on why people are frustrated about other trainers cheating in Pokemon Go, because I think I understand, and we've talked about this before, but my opinion on it is like, people can play Pokemon Go how you want. Let people play Pokemon Go how you want. But I think it's different when you're flexing on other trainers or you're showing off achievements versus just like, you know, being a cheater in your own corner in this other side of the world with no social media and you're just enjoying having fun playing the game. For whatever reason. If you guys want to see my opinions on if I think cheating is correct or not, I have a full YAP session that breaks it down. Because I understand, I guess, certain reasons on why people cheat. But anyway, I think there's a couple reasons. Number one, I think it violates a sense of fairness. I think that as humans, we all just hope things are fair in the game. So when you put in effort and you're like, you know, some of you guys might be out there walking your 50, 60 kilometers a day if you're insane. Probably the more casual players who are watching this video maybe are doing 5, 10 kilometers a day towards these tasks or whatever, you know, hitting your 999 nice throws, whatever. Like, whatever you're doing, it depends like what level of trainer you are, because there's some people who like play this game for like 8, 10 hours a day. You know, they have money in stocks or whatever, and like, or they don't have a job or whatever. I don't know like what their life looks like, but they spend a lot of time playing Pokemon Go. Those people, they're going to be putting in a lot of effort into the game. If you're a more casual player, you might not care as much. But anyway, I think as humans, we all agree that we believe in some sense of fairness. We are all fair, equal humans. We should all have the same playing field. And when you put in effort and somebody's just out here automatically hitting the highest level in the game, it's frustrating because that is not fair at all, right? That is not fair. You're putting in the effort. This person's just getting it for free and not getting punished at all. A little bit frustrating, right? The second thing, and I think the most important thing here, is it devalues the meaning of the achievement for some people. Now, first thing I want to say here is that things in life have meaning based on how much meaning you give it, right? If something is important to you, it can be important to you. But if it might not be important to another person, like the whole idea of a value of an achievement to somebody is a completely like personal idea across the board. But what I do think is the kicker here, and actually what I'm trying to say here is the symbol of level 80 is what's actually getting tainted when cheaters are hitting level 80 like this. So let me explain what this means. But pretty much, I think the best way to explain it is this story. But like, to become a lawyer, to become a doctor nowadays is a very, very hard thing to do. And you can't cheat your way into becoming a doctor. No, you cannot. And I think most people know that like maybe there's somebody who's doing it, but they're not lasting a long time. They're going to be punished if they're saying, "Oh, I'm a doctor," and they're performing surgery, or I don't know. They're like, you're going to be caught. You're going to be found out really quickly. So overall, as humans, I think everybody has an idea, at least maybe in the Western society, that becoming a doctor is a hard thing, and reaching that achievement is completely respectful. But now, the idea of hitting level 80, it's kind of like, well, is it a hard thing? Because some people are level 80, but oh, did they cheat? Oh, wait, no, did they put in the effort? And the whole idea of hitting level 80 has been tainted by these trainers being the first in the world to hit level 80 when you know they didn't even put effort into hitting level 80 because they're cheating and they're not really playing the game at all. They're using all their spoofer things. So I think that's more the idea, but it's devaluing the achievement for some people because people can cheat their way to becoming the first in the world. So no longer is there this general across the board mindset where everybody just agrees, oh yeah, hitting level 80, that's hard. When instead now everybody's going to have that doubt in the back of their mind saying, oh, but did they actually do it? You know what I mean? So I think that's the second issue. The third issue is going to be the loss of trust between the players. Like, as I mentioned before, it's going to be an us versus them, where you have the cheaters versus the non-cheaters. You're going to be I think most people now are going to be super suspect of achievements in the game. Like, you know, even like, let's say like a year down the road when people are like, everyone's level 80, people are still going to be in the back of the mind like, well, like, did this person actually reach level 80 or did they cheat their way? When it's no longer obvious who's cheating to hit level 80, I think there's still going to be that idea in the back of their mind. And no one can ever really, well, people I think are still going to be excited for other people's achievements, but I think still subconsciously maybe this is more in the hardcore community and the casuals don't care, and maybe a lot of you guys don't care, but I think subconsciously people will be like, well, you can cheat. So the fact that people can cheat and are going unpunished means that you don't know what is true and you don't know what is real and what is fake, I guess, is kind of what I'm putting. Finally, the last thing is I think there's a loss of trust between us and Scopely. The fact that these cheaters are just running rampant in the game. And look, at the end of the day, I'm going to say again, like, I don't mind it too much. You play how you want. But I think as an overall arching idea, when a game has a lot of people who can just knowingly cheat and just dance around a company and not get punished at all, it just doesn't look good for the company at all. And it just doesn't do well for the Pokemon ecosystem at all. It doesn't do well for the Pokemon company and how they look at all. So overall, when this is a situation where this keeps happening, it doesn't look good on Scopely. It doesn't look good on Pokemon Go, especially because it just seems like they don't have their eggs in one basket. Or what is it? Eggs in a row? No, ducks in a row. And no one's getting punished. So it might even make more people do it, right? Because they're like, oh, well, this guy's hitting level 80. He's not getting cheated on. So more like, and it'll just expand and expand. So anyway, I think those are the three main reasons people are online and frustrated about cheating. And I just think it is a valid thing. I think we do have to be valid of the idea of the anger. I don't think the way it's being expressed is always the best, but there's still things. But I think there is a better way to look at the situation and a better way to kind of, I guess, understand exactly what's going on. And that's going to be the number one thing, is we need to remember why we're here. So as I mentioned before, I don't really care if people cheat. And I think this is an idea that I've kind of grown in my head the past couple of years, where I've kind of dug deeper into Pokemon Go, into the why you play Pokemon Go. And I think it's very easy in life as a whole to really jump out and be like frustrated at what everybody else is doing and losing track of like what is important to you. You know, a lot of feelings come up and you lose track of what's important to you. So I think looking at this situation, I think what a lot of people need to do, and I think what the best way to approach this situation is, number one, just understand why you play Pokemon Go. And when you are out there comparing in life, whether it's in Pokemon Go or whether it's in real life, you need to understand like what is valuable to you. And does this comparison actually add value to your life at all? Me looking at a level 80 trainer and be like, oh, that's fresher, they hit level 80, doesn't really affect me because I'm playing Pokemon Go for my own enjoyment. I'm playing Pokemon Go to better connect with my mom, to better connect with my friends. Sure, to hit certain achievements, but to hit achievements in my own tunnel, not comparing what I have achieved to other people. You know, sure, Fleece King, maybe not Mystic 7. I was going to say he's going to level 80 before me. I'm probably going to beat him. Fleece King, Billy, whatever. Like, these people are probably going to hit level 80 before me, but I'm not going to sit there and just be jealous of it, because I know that my achievements are my own and I'm doing them for my own reason. So I think it's like looking into your why and why you play Pokemon Go is the most important thing to do when situations like these come up. And we do have these people who are cheating, who are making a big show of it and all that stuff. I'm deciding. And also just understanding, number one, it's just something that you can't control. As much as I would like to sit here and say that everybody in the world is going to have an even playing field, I just do not think that is a realistic thing I could say. And yes, it would be the best world ever if the best, I don't want to say world, but best Pokemon Go game ever if cheating was impossible and everybody was guaranteed to be playing on an even playing field. But unfortunately, that's just like not a real situation. And it's just something we can't control. So I think letting go of things we can't control, like so-and-so, blah, 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 flexing on Twitter or whatever, I don't think there's a lot of value in you going and hunting that person down. Instead, just, again, always go back to yourself and focus on what's important to you. This is something I've learned a lot in therapy, but I think it's just the best way to approach situations like this when there's a lot of loud, angry discussion happening. Is that discussion actually helpful towards you? Is it a situation you can control? And is it important to you? Don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's a lot of mumbo jumbo. I think that brings us to like our final point here, which I think is honestly, if you're going to ask me my opinion on the situation, this is what I would say, because I think breaking down the whole situation, what people are trying to answer the question of is because I think at the end of the day, I don't know if this is like a common thing, but I think my opinion on the situation is that people can do whatever they want. Again, it's out of my control. If you're going to be a cheater and you're going to go flex, I'm not going to concern my time with that because it's just not in my control and my life is just going to be miserable if I try to control what other people are doing. The real question more should be, should cheaters be allowed to flex in the game? Because and show off their achievements even if they weren't legitly gotten. And in my opinion, I would say yes, but with honesty. So let me tell to better explain this point, let me tell a story. So Brandon Ton, the number one player for a while in Pokemon Go, first level 40 in the world, highest XP for a while, came and visited us, I think it was like 2 years ago, in Ottawa, and we were having dinner. Pokemama made dinner, Princess was there, we're having dinner, and he told me a story. He told me a story when he was doing his travels around the world from each city to each city. I'm sure he maybe visited your city. He met this one trainer who was he met this one parent who had this kid, and this parent didn't play Pokemon Go too much, didn't really like understand what was happening, but her kid had come to him, or her, I forget if it was a dad or mom, and been all upset and frustrated, been like, I don't really have that many Pokemon. This other guy over here has 5 Shundos, has all these legendary shiny Pokemon, and this kid was just really, really upset with their parent because they were comparing their account to this other kid's account. And what Brandon had later figured out as he went over to this other kid is realized that this kid had been cheating. He had been spoofing, he had a joystick, all this stuff, and his account was just not legitimate. All this stuff he had was cheated into his account, but this kid had gone to this other kid in the community and be like, oh, check out all these stuff I have, without making it aware to the kid. Granted, maybe the kid doesn't have the awareness to be able to understand that he was cheating. I forget the age, because I'm not gonna lie, when I was a kid, I probably maybe wouldn't have understood that. But anyway, wasn't honest with the fact that, hey, these weren't legitimately caught on my account, or like caught with integrity, I guess we could say is the best way to say it. So it led to this situation where this parent had this kerfuffled kid who was all upset, and I'm guessing had to explain to the kid, hey, but this person cheated in the game. I think the issue here is honesty, right? I think the issue here going across the board is that a lot of these trainers are being like, oh, I hit level 8, I hit level 80, or I hit level 77, or I hit level 78. And even if they cheated, that's fine. They can flex all they want. But I think the issue comes in when there's people coming into the game who are maybe less knowledgeable, who don't understand, who don't see the full picture is probably the best way to put it, where they think that these people are legit and they're seeing these people as these idols, as these insane, huge grinders, when these people are just cheating to get their way up there. So I think that I am fine with people flexing all their achievements, even if they're cheated into the game. But be honest. If you're a cheater, you need to be honest in some way, shape, or form about it. Now, I understand saying this, it's not the reality, because if you're a cheater, you obviously don't want to get caught, and these people are not going to want to get caught, so they're not going to want to flex that, hey, and be honest that, hey, I'm cheating, but I'm getting, like, no one's going to really do that because they're trying to protect themselves when they're cheating. Like, it's kind of a weird situation. But I do think that is the best way to do it. If you're going to cheat, you got to be honest about it, because this is the best way to be honest and build, not best way to be honest, best way to build integrity in the game and have the most, I guess, realistic expectations for other trainers to understand that, hey, these people are hitting level 80, but they're not doing it a legit way. And if you want to be a trainer with integrity and you want to be a trainer who follows the rules and does the grind legitimately, I'm going to keep saying legitimately, or as legitimately as you could say, because there's so much gray area now in Pokemon Go, you need to understand. And I think that's it. I think honesty at the end of the day is the solution. And if these trainers, I have no problem with these people being like, hey, I hit level 80, but I kind of faked my kilometers. I kind of used a joystick for my kilometers, all that stuff. That's fine. But don't go flexing something when you didn't actually, or don't go, I guess the final thing I'm going to say is I don't think people should be going and claiming they did something in a legitimate way when they didn't do it in a legitimate way, because that's just straight up lying. And I don't think that should be the way to go about it. So that's kind of my opinion overall on it. But at the end of the day, I think the best way to approach this situation, all these trainers hit level 80, is just focus on yourself. Focus what's important to you. Focus on your level 80 grind and enjoy the journey. Because at the end of the day, once you hit level 80, it's kind of over. So, you want to make sure you make the most of that time getting up there. It is a bit unfortunate that it has tainted the idea of level 80 overall for the top players. And this whole idea of race to level 80, it's a little bit dead, because it's just going to be kind of impossible to know who's the first legit level 80 in the world, because there's just so many eyes on it now. There's so many people going for it, and you just don't know who is faking their kilometers or not with different ways. But yeah, overall, that's kind of my opinion on it. I would love to hear your discussion and your opinions on this situation, guys. What do you think of the level 80 cheaters in Pokemon Go, and your opinion on cheating? It's not a topic I really take lightly or like to talk about very often, very loosely talk about. I think this is the most I've gone into the idea of cheating in the game totally. I'm going to reiterate this. Do not cheat in Pokemon Go. I don't think you should cheat at all. I do not condone cheating at all. So again, that's like my opinion. I don't think you do it. I also think it's just in the long term, you're just not going to enjoy the game if you cheat. So you're going to get no fulfillment out of it. But anyway, watch your 2 YAP sessions on screen. We'll catch you guys all next week with another YAP session. We're actually going to be in Japan next week for the YAP session for the wild area as well. So that'll be very exciting. Excited to see you guys in Japan with the next YAP. And yeah, we'll catch you all next one. Forward to this, everybody. Peace.